Alexander Shulgin, Sasha to his friends, is nothing less than the godfather of psychopharmacology, an expert on the cyclicized phenylethylamines, that is, psychoactive compounds useful in the emotional recovery of traumatic events. Shulgin has given his life to the study of the pharmacology of the psychedelic experience. In Prague, he told me, greater frontiers lie ahead. The next lost continent to be explored by Alexander Shulgin, the psychoactive tryptamines. Sasha suggested that I join him for a stroll among the graves of the cemetery of the Jewish ghetto of Prague, Europe's oldest ghetto. There, walking among the stones, we reminisced and speculated about the history and the future of psychopharmacology. What do you make of your Russian colleagues here?
I'm fascinated by what he's doing, and I'm intrigued by his ability to get out what he was doing into the West, because the status of his position in the West is not what we have come to respect in the West.
You're talking about Yevgeny Krupinski.
Mm-hmm.
I imagine you don't view ketamine with... Well, how do you view ketamine?
It's an anesthetic, and it's a dissociative thing, and it puts me out of body.
It's very dissociative. It puts me out of mind.
You're away, and I, frankly, with a full bladder, like being here. And you suddenly realize that someone has a full bladder, and at only one intellectual level you realize it's you.
Yes. No, it's so seriously disassociated me that I felt it was a great victory when I finally realized that this was a drug. Mm-hmm. For a long time, I couldn't figure out what it was or who was even asking the question.
Well, they kept calling it vitamin K, which is a fascinating euphemism for allowing to have some semblance of a food additive or a dietary supplement. But
well,
I had the interesting pleasure of being back at a big company in the East the day they had bought the rights to distribute ketamine. And I informed them, you do realize that ketamine was being made by Park Davis and shipped off to Mexico, and it's imported in liter bottles, all with a percentage of preservatives, comes right back into California in the trunk of the car. Oh, about 20 years ago, there was a class of compounds called quincucliidines. And for about 3 or 4 years, I just noticed that there's no publishing in the Russian literature whatsoever on the area of quincucliidines. And then all of a sudden, the Russian literature started publishing. And then we went into a sort of a gap. And then quincucliidine benzylate, which is one of the most potent of the anticholinergics, was suddenly revealed that the Russians were working on it as a chemical warfare agent, and then we were working on it as a defense against their chemical warfare agent.
Uh-huh.
And it's active 10, 20 micrograms.
10, 20 micrograms.
It makes you really wonky. It's like atropine. Delusion, confusion.
Uh-huh.
But they design these fantastic bombs that they can explode and send out millions of little hypodermic needles. And so they don't have to worry about wind blowing it downwind or upwind.
So it's essentially a chemical cluster bomb.
Cluster bomb.
Some sort.
Little hypodermic needles. Yeah, elegant.
So that's probably in the inventory.
It's already in the inventory.
Uh-huh. Well, someone mentioned to me that you had expressed interest now that you felt you had sort of done the work you wanted to do with cyclicized phenylethylamines and that you were going back to looking at tryptamine.
Very much so. That's the other side of the coin. It's this rich and unexplored areas the phenethylamines were 20 years ago.
So are you going to illuminate it for us?
Oh, absolutely. I've already made the T-butyl methyl. Isopropyl methyl is well known, but the secondary butyl methyl is not known. They're all active by smoking.
Uh-huh. And what are they, could you, in a blind test, pick one out from another, or are they sort of...
I don't know yet. I doubt it somehow. I think they're all going to be fast, impactful, and all very much like DMT.
Duration-wise or presentation-wise?
Probably perhaps a little bit more potent.
a little bit more
Yeah,
potent.
DMT is not that all-fired potent. It takes, 10, 20, 50, no more, 50, 100 milligrams.
50 to 70.
And some of these we're getting into maybe at 20 to 30 milligrams, but not active aromatase. You have to get up to a certain degree of shrubbery on the nitrogen to get oral activity.
And how many of these compounds do you imagine there are that are
At
simple?
casually you can make 30, 40, 50.
Why do you suppose it is that this fast-acting, easily manufactured, spectacular hallucinogen is so rarely met in the underground?
I don't know. I've heard that it's there in some quantity. I heard about a seizure in Boston, I believe it was of ayahuasca. And they seized it on the basis that it contained DMT.
Right, that was the Santo Daime
Yes,
people from Brazil. But, we live in a society where people jump out of airplanes and hang by bungee cords over bridges. And DMT, which is always described as an easy synthesis,
It is extremely easy.
is just not there.
I have no idea.
It violates one of these economic laws.
Basic laws.
Gresham or Graham or somebody. Something that I've always wanted to ask you, which is, unlike me, you seem remarkably resistant to what I call the implications. I mean, how can you just do these things over and over again and not be nutty as a fruitcake?
So?
Well, are you? Are you?
I think I relaxed and in the event.
But unlike me, you don't feel the need to rave about that aspect of it.
Not particularly. I'd rather quietly stay half in the closet and continue doing what I'm doing.
But you've probably seen more uncharted internal landscape than half of mankind put together. I mean, that would not be an immodest claim.
They're a little bit charted now.
Well, a very little bit.
Very little, that's right. But the seeds are there to be used by anyone else. That's the reason for the book, just to get it all recorded into a documented form.
But it always puzzles me. I mean, I think Hoffman and Wasson, and certainly to some degree Schultes, to some degree you, everybody says, well, I'm just a humble botanist, or I'm just a hard-working workbench chemist. Nobody wants to actually say, this must be very, very important. Because it's so uniquely beyond ordinary expectation.
Yes, but the importance is going to take a long time to realize. What you can't build without the tools, and you have to have the tools, and these are the tools that allow the building to be done. I'm not a builder. I'm a tool maker. And that's probably one of the reasons I have not described a lot of landscapes. Other was something different.
If we could compare it to the invention of the telescope, probably within 50 years of the invention of the telescope, the major solar system new paradigms were put in place. This seems very elusive. It seems hard for us to go beyond simply saying it exists, it's really far out, and then we sort of fall silent. What do you think about that?
I think the silence is in part imposed upon us by a very unsympathetic authority body. And maybe it's just as well. Because that way a lot of work can be done and sort of recorded for posterity. And the time the pendulums swing, they will swing back. And the time will come when this work will be used. Research will be done with these tools that will be very rare.
Well, obviously you believe in it strongly. What would you say to a critic who said, what's so great about this? Are you and your friends in any significant way different from the rest of humanity?
No. And I don't see why it would be critical. I'm not offending him. I can see no way in which I'm offending him. I'm quietly doing my little alchemist thing at home.
But you really must think that it does make a difference.
I think it does. I think it will.
It will.
I don't think it does now.
So we really are cursed with being pioneers.
Yeah.
It's not so bad.
No,
it's not so bad.
It has a nice.
I mean, they'll hang your picture in the main hall years hence and say, these were giants.
I would rather have my picture hanging in the main hall than me hanging in
Well, some people manage both. And you may end up that way, too.
Oh, well, it's a short, happy life. It's kind of neat.
Well,
But this is your territory, too. What's your feeling? Do you feel that that's a fair...
I think that I have always, from the very first psychedelic experience, had the uncanny intuition that, yes, this has been around for 50,000 years, but it's somehow going to be critically important in our lifetime, that we will need it for something, maybe just to think our way out of the mess that we're getting into.
Okay, but if it's needed, we have it.
Yes.
That's the beauty. The tool is there for the time when the need is obvious. And it may be our lifetime.
So essentially what you're doing is you're placing tools on the shelf. Mm-hmm. Screwdrivers for screws that haven't been invented yet.
Exactly that. Except it's a good tool. Its use will depend upon someone who has that particular view of me.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's a wonderful thing. Where do you hope to be in 10 years or so with all of this?
Probably starting on a third book.
Do you think, I know you're working on a book about legalization and...
Not actually. I'm working with a group who's more or less funded to make arguments that would be raised, to address arguments to be raised in a legalization process. What would the answer of how drugs would be legalized? How would they be made available? Should it be an open supermarket or should it be under some sort of governmental control? And it's a research, more than that, a policy group studies setting up for that. I think it's futile in the present state.
In terms of practical impact.
I don't think anyone's going to seriously entertain legalization. So it may be a futile process, but it's a fun process. Because in the process you begin evaluating your own relationship with drug law, drug regulation, drug control.
If you were in charge of it, how do you see it happening? I mean, are there drugs you would keep legal, or do you think it should be...
What I would do if I were running, I would keep certain laws that protect people of innocence. I would have absolutely no drug with children who are of too young an age. God knows what those may be.
16, 18, 21.
Maybe alcohol moniker.
Right.
Absolutely unallowed giving drugs to anyone without their consent.
Not sure.
Informed consent, knowledge, education. I would make absolutely available at all levels without propaganda, restriction, information that is factual about drugs. Then I'd open the drugs guide. And you people, would they overuse? Maybe. But I think that would very quickly dampen itself out to maybe about what we have now. But you have removed the criminality, removed the violence, removed the entire social disruptiveness that these drug laws have caused.
Would you encourage the government to see these drugs as a vehicle for gaining tax revenue, or do you think the government should stay off that?
Probably some tax revenue would be valid, as with other drugs of abuse, other things of abuse.
Similarly to alcohol and tobacco.
It's a good model, and perhaps it's a valid one.
Well, that's pretty much what I suggested in my book, but I agree with you that it's easy to sit down and come up with a fine plan, overcoming the political hurdles of an American...
People have too much to benefit on the laws being what they are and even becoming more intense. And until you change that motivation, that reward.
Yes, well, the most cynical and the most naive people in America are keeping the drug problem going. The most cynical by dealing and importing drugs, and the most naive through the kind of Christian terror of...
Look at the monstrous industries that have been built up with it. The drug urine screening. shameful.
Right.
But they're multi-billion-dollar things. This kit, that GCMS, this instrumentation, these people who make little wax urine bottles. It's becoming, there's no justification for urine screening at any time of anyone under any circumstance on a random basis.
Well, and the notion that in a democratic society people would get into that kind of thing is incredible, I think.
It's completely contrary to the principles of that society. The assumption of innocence. We blew it because it's not in the Constitution.
Right.
It should have been in there, but it wasn't.
Right.
But taking a urine sample on a random basis is an assumption of guilt.
Well, but what is in the Bill of Rights is life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Declaration of Independence. But that could be used as a sufficient basis for
self-image. And we should maintain a deception.
Yeah, well, the first thing that goes when society hits the wall is democracy.